he traveled through Samaria and Galilee. As he was entering a village, 10 persons with leprosy met him. They stood at a distance from him and raised their voices, saying, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." And when he saw them, he said, "Go show yourself to the priest." As they were going, they were cleansed. And one of them, realizing he had been healed, returned glorifying God in a loud voice. And he fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. And Jesus said in reply, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Then he said to him, "Stand up and go. Your faith has saved you." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This afternoon I was in the hospital. I was at the rectory and all of a sudden the telephone rang and the operator said, "Father, Father Smith is saying your funeral. Would you come and anoint this person? They're dying." I says, "I will, as long as you give me an almond joy, then I will come." But every time I go to the hospital and I'm filling in for someone, they always have an almond joy for me, because I love to receive a present. Whenever I do something good, I always like to get a present. So I went into the room, and there was an elderly man sitting there waiting to go to heaven. And then his wife was there, but his wife had Alzheimer's. So she was there physically, but not mentally. And she really didn't know if that were her husband, but she knew he was something special. And the daughter and the son were sitting there, and the granddaughter was rubbing her grandfather's forehead, and he was about ready to go to heaven. And after I gave him the sacrament of sick, I turned to the daughter who recognized me because I realized she was one of my friends from the Good News Fund. And I said to her, "Are you ready to let your father go to heaven?" And she looked up at me and said, "Yes, Father. My father's been taking care of my mother for 10 years, and he's so exhausted. We want him to go to heaven. We're ready to go to heaven." And she says, "When you say Mass tonight, would you say a special remember John? Because we are so thankful for him. It's time for him to go to heaven. But there's so many reasons for me to be, and my brother to be thankful for my father." And I said, "Well, what are some of the things you're thankful for?" And after about 10 minutes, she finished telling me all the things that she's thankful for to God for her father, who was with her for so long and who took care of her mother for so long because she was so ill herself. And as she sat there, she had her hand on her husband, probably not knowing who he really was, but she kept on saying thank you. And I began to realize that she really was beginning to recognize who that man was in the bed, that it was her husband, and she was saying thank you to him. And as we celebrated a vigil of Thanksgiving, it was such a wonderful experience to see someone saying thank you. And I'll give you a personal story about my father. My father had a stroke, and he was at the Britain Hospital, and he couldn't see because the stroke closed his eyes and his arms. So I opened his eyes, and I looked at him, and I said, "Dad, thank you for being who you are." And he started crying. His mind was okay, but he couldn't move his hands. And he started crying, and I said, "Dad, thank you for being the best father I could have." And even today, 29 years later, I'm thankful for what my father gave me. And in the opening prayer, the priest said, Father, all powerful, your gifts of love are countless and your goodness is infinite. So what I'm going to ask, now I gave you 2 stories of being thankful for the parents that I had. And I'm going to ask you, What are you thankful for? Before we start, we're going to talk about two things. You see that wreath, that green wreath there? Well, that's called an Advent wreath. And Sunday we begin the 4 weeks of Advent before Christmas. And you know the green wreath, green means hope. That today we have so many problems, but because of the coming of Christmas, we're filled with green, we're filled with hope. And then you see the 4 candles remind us of the 4 weeks of Advent. And a rose candle reminds us that that's the week before Christmas, so we're rejoicing that Christ is coming. But during those 4 weeks of Advent, we thank God for Jesus coming by doing special things for him. And then over here we have the giving tree. It's not a Christmas tree. This tree is for all children who do not have a mommy or a daddy. And on the tree is a little tab where you're going to pick one up and take that and prepare a gift for someone. Remember, these little children are going to represent Jesus. So the way we celebrate Advent for the 4 weeks, and in every home we have a round base and 4 candles with the special prayers of Advent that we have if anybody wants them later. But we see that Advent is 4 weeks of special preparation for Jesus. And one way of preparing for Jesus, we said, so that we may share your gifts in loving service to others. So this giving tree is giving you an opportunity to share your gifts that you receive from God with others. I'm not saying the gifts you're going to receive at Christmas. No, I'm saying all the gifts that you receive already. And that's what I'm going to ask, are what are the things, God's gifts of love are countless. What are some of the gifts that you received that you were very thankful for? I told you that I'm thankful for my father who taught me how to pray. And I'm sure he's still praying for me in heaven. And he taught me how to pray, my mother did too. But my father, most of all, taught me how to pray. And that's probably why I'm thankful for my priesthood today, because of the way my father taught me to pray. So I'd like to have maybe 5 or 6 people just come up and give me one reason where God gave you the gifts of love are countless. What are some of the gifts that God has given you? And these gifts are really gifts of love. What would you say is a good example of a gift of love that God has given you in your own life? So instead of asking for children, I'm going to ask for volunteers. Mr. Bergeron, thank you for coming up. Sister Mary Elizabeth, thank you for coming up. Dave and Kathy Driver, thank you for coming up. Is your wife here? Are you taking pictures? Okay, I'm doing a YouTube right now. Would you please come up for a minute? And Ron and John, thank you for coming up. And then we'll have one of the children to come. Everybody's got their eyes down right now. Okay, would you come up? They didn't know I was asking for it. Okay. And we are thankful for the gifts of love that are countless. And what I'd like to have, just stand up together, face the audience, and now you know their names. Okay. Now, God gives us so many gifts of love. What would be an example of a gift of love in your life?
I'm thankful for my son and daughter and my wife.
He's thankful for his son and daughter and wife. Sister, what gift of love are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my vocation and the sisters in the community that I'm living with.
He's thankful for her vocation and the sisters she's living with. Dave?
I'm thankful for the forgiveness of my wife and the beautiful voice of my daughter.
Thankful for the gifts, for the forgiveness of his wife and the beautiful voice of his daughter that's sitting back there and is in the choir, the 5 o'clock prayer. Mary Tess. Okay, Kathy?
I'm thankful for my new daughter-in-law. My son got married this summer, so we have a new family member, and I'm thankful for Priya.
She is thankful for Priya, the new daughter that I married when they came back. They're in Brooklyn right now, so thankful for the daughter. Now, how about you, Joan? Who are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family, but I'm also thankful for you, Father. You make me a better person.
What did she say? Okay, thank you for saying thank you. Okay, Ron?
I'm thankful for my wife and my 2 grandsons.
Chief, thank you for your wife and 2 grandsons. Okay, may these young children sit down. And can we have some big children come down, okay? Can we have some children to come up? Let's see if we can have 5 children. Anybody want to come up? Okay. Okay, come up. Okay. We got 3. Anyone else want to come up? Okay, and anyone else want to come up? Okay, Chris, give your name nice and loud, and then tell me what you're thankful for. Okay, you start. First name? Jerome? Shimon. Shimon, what are you thankful for? Your family and me. Let's give him a big, big clap. Next. Amanda, what are you thankful for? For birth. Let's give her a big, big clap. What's your first name? Darren. Darren, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family and God.
He's thankful for his family and God. Okay, next. What's the next name? Daniel, what are you thankful for? He's thankful for Jesus and his whole family. Let's give him a big round. And what are you thankful for? For who? She's thankful for love. Okay, give her a big round. What are you thankful for? You're thankful for what? She's thankful for family and God. Okay. What's your name? Trevor, what are you thankful for?
My friends, family, and church and Jesus.
Boy, we're brainwashed today. My friends, my family, church, and Jesus. Boy, sisters, you're getting it across. What is it? Okay, Sal. Sal, what are you thankful for?
My family and my grandpa's dog.
This is a good one. My family and my grandpa's dog. Jacob, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my daughter and for the family.
Notice what comes first. I'm thankful for my dog and I'm thankful for my family. Anna, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my friends, family, Jesus, and God.
She's thankful for family, friends, Jesus, and God. And Jesus is God. Good. Okay. Anyone? Okay. Charlie, what are you thankful for?
My name is Charlie. I'm thankful for my family, especially my mom and my friends.
Thankful for family, come on, hurry up so I can get your name, Jane.
Noah, and I'm thankful for my friends and my family and God and Jesus and God.
Okay, boy.
And
Are you through now? You heard him. But I'm thankful for all the beautiful teeth you were showing me. Okay, one more. What's your name? Jillian, what are you thankful for? For the FFs, your family and friends. Let's give the thankful. Notice nobody said PlayStation, nobody said violent station, nobody said TV, nobody sent computer